Hello, and welcome to another episode of Now About That with James and Sarah. I'm James.
I'm Sarah.
On this episode, we're going to be discussing pet peeves and deal breakers. We'll be breaking down what pet peeves are, what are the most common pet peeves, some less common pet peeves, and Sarah and I will also talk about some of our personal ones. Along with this discussion, we'll also be talking about deal breakers and just the definition of pet peeves before we get into it. So from dictionary.com, it said pet peeves are something that a particular person finds annoying. And then on Merriam-Webster, it's a frequent subject of complaint. And while I was looking at some of the articles based on 3 different articles I read, it appears like the number one pet peeve is chewing noises. Which I could totally understand. And there's actually a disorder called misophonia, which is characterized by the intense emotion like rage or fear in response of highly specific sounds, particularly ordinary sounds that other people make. Based on an NPR article. So interesting stuff. So what do you think, aside from chewing, are some common pet peeves? I have a list of 70 that we can go through.
A list of 70?
Yeah.
Dang.
70 common pet peeves.
Definitely certain driving habits, like driving slow in the passing lane. For me personally, one of my biggest pet peeves is when someone like almost comes to a complete stop before they turn right.
Oh God, the worst.
I'm like, you don't have to do that. Like, there's not even anybody there blocking your way. Just turn. Just turn.
Yeah, driving. So there's a few driving. So driving too slow, driving too close to the car in front.
Yeah.
Using words the wrong way. People who adopt the interests or habits of every new significant other. Of the feeling of chalk. I don't know that that's more of an aversion than a pet peeve. Some of these aren't right. Or cotton balls.
Yeah, no, those are definitely more aversions than pet peeves. I feel like a pet peeve has to be something specifically that someone else does that irritates you.
Yeah, being rude to a customer service representative.
Yeah.
Mispluralized last names on holiday cards.
Okay, all right.
That's so instead of Happy Holidays from the Smiths with apostrophe S, Happy Holidays from the Smiths with no S, or no apostrophe S. People who say, I'm sorry you feel that way, but that wasn't my intention.
Also fair.
Like the thing, I'm sorry I called you ugly.
I'm sorry that you heard me call you ugly.
Strangers and family asking, so when are you having kids?
Oh my God. Yes.
Oh, see, this one I don't agree with. Clapping at the end of a movie theater, in a movie theater. I think sometimes it's just nice. Yeah. I know it means absolutely nothing because more than likely anyone involved in the movie is not in the movie theater.
Right.
Oh God.
Some movies just deserve clapping.
Meetings that should have been an email. When in doubt, just go with an email.
Yes.
I agree. Or if someone calls you without texting, I hate that. The worst. It's like, text me first because you don't know what I'm doing. Or if it's like a Teams call, so many times people just randomly will call me. Like, they won't even be messaging me on Teams first. I'll just get a random call. And it's like, I'm in the middle of something. Just because you're not busy doesn't mean I'm not busy.
Right.
Strangers calling you sweetie or honey.
It really depends.
Sometimes it depends. Yeah, because sometimes it does seem patronizing. Sometimes it's not patronizing. They're just trying to be polite.
Yeah, sometimes it's just really nice to be called sweetie. or honey, depending. Like older women can call me that, men cannot.
Yeah. Pin clicking. I've had people in orientation that just sit there and click the pins, and I walk over and take it away from them.
Dang.
And like, when we get to the point where you need this, I'll give it back to you. Or they'll just be sitting there reading the training that they have to finish, and they'll be clicking the pin, and I'll quietly say, if you don't stop it, I'm going to take it away from you. Let's see what else. People who order something else and then want your food or drink. Oh, I watched a TikTok that was about like one of those "Am I the a-hole" ones, and it was a guy ordered a burger, and his cousin or something, I think it was his cousin who was pregnant, ordered some pasta, and when she got the pasta, she decided she didn't want the pasta anymore, and she asked him to swap the food, and he was like, no, just order the pasta or order another burger. And they didn't want to pay for it, because obviously just because you didn't like it doesn't mean you're not going to have to pay for it.
Right.
So they didn't like it, so she kept asking, and he kept saying no, and then he started eating his burger, so she couldn't ask anymore. It's like, I mean, it's rude. Like, you can't just ask someone to take their food because you ordered something that you don't like.
No, I agree.
I think this one's weird. Being micromanaged. I think that's less of a pet peeve and more of a just don't be an asshole.
Yeah, I can see that, but I definitely hate being micromanaged. Like, okay, I get it. Let me do my job.
Losing things, that's not really a pet peeve. This is probably a universal pet peeve. There's no more frustrating feeling than when your keys or your phone or AirPods are gone and you just had them. That's not, that doesn't fit the definition of pet peeve. If someone else keeps losing your stuff, I mean, that would be annoying. The comment, you look tired.
Oh.
Also, backhanded compliments in general.
Yeah, true.
Humble bragging. That's kind of rude.
Yeah.
Using text to speech in public, speech to text in public, or being on speakerphone in public. It's so obnoxious. I hate it when people do that.
I'm like, why do you need to be on speakerphone? Like, how can you hear them over everybody else?
Holding up a line. So this is, it's not a pet peeve of mine, but it's like, I always worry that I'm holding up the line when I finish with something. And it's like, am I in the way of the person behind me, or trying to be more accommodating to people that are waiting behind me?
Yeah, same.
People who constantly talk about their diet. Most of us have probably ordered pizza or pasta only to have the person we're eating dinner with explain that they aren't eating carbs right now, like they should be congratulated.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Or comment on what you're eating.
Like, I find it really upsetting when people talk about their diets in general, though, because like we have such a mindset of everybody has to be on a diet because, you know, XYZ, and it's just really annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things, it's if you're asking like where are we going to eat, and you need to take into consideration someone's dietary restrictions, like they're gluten-free, because they have a gluten intolerance or something like that, I think that makes sense. Or if they're vegan, I think it makes sense. A lot of the times people get annoyed with vegan people and say, well, you always just say you're vegan. It's like, well, yeah, because I don't eat meat, so we need to make sure there's somewhere. I don't eat meat, I don't eat dairy, I don't eat any byproducts from animals. So we need to make sure when we're going somewhere, the food is something I can eat.
Right. Which I think there's a big difference between dieting and having dietary restrictions.
Yeah. I think that makes sense too. Know-it-alls. No one likes a know-it-all, period. And then along the same lines, one-uppers. Have a great story or exciting event coming up. We all know that person who has more exciting event and better event. It probably makes you want to roll your eyes just thinking of it, right?
Yeah. I've had a lot of experiences with people like doing that when I'm explaining something bad that happened. Like, there's a difference between sharing something similar and being like, oh, I understand where you're coming from because I've also experienced similar, and then being like, oh, well, that's nothing because I've experienced this.
See, I could see that one of two ways, both of them being bad or being disrespectful. Because it's like you're maybe sort of delegitimizing that person's feelings by saying, oh, I understand what you're going through. In some instances, it can be seen as delegitimizing their feelings.
Right. Which I understand, but like a lot of neurodivergent people tend to talk like that as a way of connecting, like showing that they're empathizing.
I have heard that term so many times, so I just have to look it up. Neurodivergent, differing in mental or neurological function from what is considered typical or normal. Frequently used with reference to autistic spectrum disorders, not neurotypical. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So like neurodivergency is also like people with ADHD or having severe depression, that kind of thing.
Neurodivergent refers to neurodivergent refers the I can't this sentence is so weird. I'm just going to read it and it seems weird. Neurodivergent refers an individual who has less typical cognitive variations such as autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia. It's a weird word. Neurotypical refers to individuals of typical development and intellectual or cognitive functioning.
Yep.
I mean, neurodivergent kind of seems like it seems derogative, kind of a little bit.
No. I mean, I guess it could be used that way, but that's how people within the community refer to themselves.
Okay. Back to this list. Taking phone calls in public. I agree. FaceTiming without headphones, that is very obnoxious. And Kristen did that to me the other day. She just FaceTimed me out of nowhere, and I was walking out of work to my car.
Dang.
It's like, oh, no. Oh, wait. Oh.
This is not what I wanted.
I ducked into a meeting room and put my AirPods in. Leaving drawers or cabinets open.
Yeah.
Not screwing the lids onto bottles and containers all the way. Scraping silverware.
Ooh, yeah. People who clang their silverware in particular.
Yeah. I mean, some of these are more like the person doesn't have manners, like cutting lines, standing up at the exact moment the plane gets to the gate. There's one that gate lice. It's a weird term, and it basically said if you travel a lot, you probably are very familiar with gate lice, whether you know it or not. These are people who crowd the boarding gate to make sure they get on the plane as soon as humanly possible, and they very much annoy gate agents.
Yep.
Like the people that their boarding isn't until like section C, and they're boarding section A, B. Or you sit in the very back of the plane and it's like, we're boarding the front of the plane now. I also don't understand that. Why board the front of the plane first?
Yeah, I don't understand either. I would think that it would be more functional to board back to front and then like disembark front to back.
Yeah. So let's go with some uncommon ones. So this is from a website called Vagabomb, B-O-M-B. And their 15 people shared their weirdest pet peeves, and they will make you go, wait, what? So this person, I hate eating fuzzy fruits like chiku, peach, and kiwi because the fuzzy skin bothers me to no end and makes my teeth clench. I said this really funny thing to my family and they looked at me like I was crazy. And we may have talked about it before, but when my fingers are really dry and then I touch paper, it hurts my teeth. And they didn't understand it. I'm like, it does.
Yeah, no. That's the way I like when I touch velvet, it feels like how nails on a chalkboard sound.
Yeah. People who wear slippers that are too big or too small for their feet. That one's kind of weird. Like, why do you care? Especially if you're in their house. Can't eat a papaya because the inside of it makes me shudder. When people take 20 napkins, use one, then throw them all away.
That's fair. I don't like that either.
That's very wasteful.
It is.
When someone's hair is hanging in front of their eyes, I mean, that's kind of weird. When people sit on my bed, why is anyone in your room without there being a reason for them being in a room?
Yeah.
When they see toilet paper anywhere else other than on the toilet paper holder, even a single ply on the floor or anywhere makes me mad.
Okay.
That's a bit much. Gooey, sticky vegetables like ladyfinger. Lady's finger. I hate it. What is lady's finger?
Lady's fingers are cookies.
Lady fingers are cookies. This is lady's finger.
I don't know.
I'll Google it. No, dang it. Lady's finger. Okra. Okay, that's okra. Just call it okra.
Just say okra.
Right? I hate when people keep their tabs open on their phone, even when they are not using the apps. Some people don't really know how to close them though sometimes.
Yeah.
My thing is about the notification thing at the very top. If you have like 500 notifications, especially on Android phones, like why do you have so many notifications?
No, I agree. I hate having notifications on my phone.
Yeah. People who go to the beach but don't get into the sea. Why does that matter to you?
True.
Things that match too much. That's a bit much. Things that are too aligned. I don't know anyone that gets annoyed when things are too aligned.
Yeah, no.
Can't eat tomatoes with the skin on them. It is kind of a texture thing. Yeah. I don't know why exactly, but I cannot stand Bindis.
Bindis.
Bindis. Isn't that like a head wrap?
Maybe. Hold on.
A decorative mark worn in the middle of the forehead. Yeah. That's not a wrap, but
bindis.
Yeah. The little dot thing that goes on in India.
Okay, well that's just racist. Admit that you're fucking racist.
Yeah.
But
that's a little bit racist, yeah. The sound of someone breathing heavily. Can't take it.
So they never have sex.
I mean,
if you're not breathing heavily during sex, then
maybe they mean breathing heavily without being overly exerted. Like mouth breathers, I think is probably more what they're talking about.
Maybe.
Let's see. When people finish paying at a register, but then don't move out of the way to put away their card, change, receipt, or grab their bags so the next person can start checkout process. That is very obnoxious.
I agree.
When people enter an elevator or subway before letting people get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that. This is from a BuzzFeed article. Stickers on fruit.
Same.
Did you know though? Those are edible.
I did not know that.
Because they have to be, because someone may accidentally eat them without taking it off, so they cannot. Well, it's not that they're edible, it's they're non-toxic.
So
you can technically eat them and nothing bad will happen. Groups of 4 walking side by side down crowded sidewalks. That is obnoxious. It says, "This ain't the yellow brick road, Dorothy."
Then they don't move out of the way at all.
Yeah.
Like,
It's frustrating. Using the same knife for the peanut butter and the jelly. I mean, if you clean it off before you go in.
yeah.
But yeah, I could see if you use it, like you take the jelly and you do the jelly first and then the peanut butter, or vice versa, and you're mixing in, you're cross-contaminating for those food service peeps.
Yeah.
Couples who think 12 items or fewer means 24 items for the pair of them. Also, signs that say 12 items or less. Why is that a necklace on top of a turtleneck? That's a bit much.
Very specific.
Yeah. When I'm reading a book and someone starts to talk to me as if I'm not doing anything.
Yes.
And they said, "I'm reading," at least say, "Excuse me." I mean, yeah. Or if I'm reading looking at my phone, reading a text message, you just walk up and start talking to me. It's like, I'm not doing something.
Right.
When I ask someone 3 questions in an email and they reply with only the answer to my first question.
Oh my God. Yes.
I have two things. I agree, but then also, how are you structuring your email? Is it just one massive block of text, or are you making it like noticeable that there's 3 separate questions? And you have to think of your audience too, because I know working where I work, it's a lot of people, if it's not in the subject line, they're not going to even read the email. So if the subject doesn't make sense, they won't read the email. Those folks who leave 2 seconds on the microwave and don't clear it out.
Yes. I hate that. Clear it off.
Some microwaves, whenever you open it and then close it, it cancels it itself. That's cool.
No, that's something that always irritated me when I worked for the BMV. Was like, we have that shared microwave and someone would always leave like 10, 15 seconds on it. And I'm like, why? Take it off. Clear it off.
Yeah. When people ask me a question and then talk over my answer, it's kind of rude. I have too many to list. I'll pick one. People who leave their shopping carts anywhere they please in the parking lot instead of taking them to the cart corral.
Yes.
Yeah, that's terrible. Whispering, particularly in a public or open space, it's more disruptive than just talking in a normal voice. And antithetical, to be discreet.
Oh, like the opposite of being discreet.
Yeah.
But see, I've had to do that a couple of times when I've had laryngitis, and I had to be all like, well, I still have to go to work, so having to whisper.
I just can't deal with whispering anyways. It's something about it. Just, this person says, obviously I'm not a big fan of ASMR. I can't deal with ASMR if they're whispering either. I can't. It frustrates me. For people who may not be familiar with your work, tell us about yourself. And then they go on to say, no, you do your research and make the introduction. It is literally the least you can do. It seems kind of
over the top.
Rude.
Yeah.
Someone said, oh, a novel? Is that like a fiction novel?
Yes. All novels are fiction.
People spelling it y'all, YA''LL, and not Y''ALL.
Okay, that's fair.
Because it is technically you all, yeah.
Yeah.
People who say an on accident rather than by accident. And then they said, and don't even get me started on I could care less.
Yeah.
Using an apostrophe to pluralize last names.
We read that one earlier.
Oh, no, that was different. So this is, instead of like, oh no, yeah, you're right. It is the same. Merry Christmas from the Joneses. I thought they were saying the opposite, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, this one, it kind of comes down to a pronunciation. Mischievous instead of mischievous. There are some people that say mischievous because that's how they know to pronounce it.
Yeah. You can always tell when someone's pronouncing a word out loud for the first time. And I think that's one of those words.
So we'll do a couple more and then we'll take a quick break and come back.
Okay.
And then we'll go on to deal breakers and talk about deal breakers. Why do people press the elevator button right after I press it? Do you not trust me to press the button? Do your fingers work better than mine?
Apparently.
Similar to those people who act like they've never been through a drive-thru before and take 10 minutes to order. It's fucking McDonald's. You know what you want already.
Oh my God. Yes.
People who respond to thank you with no problem. Meaning providing me a service I'm paying for was a potential problem.
No, it means that there were no issues and that you are happy to do it.
Go ahead.
I feel like people who get bent out of shape about that are usually boomers.
So I have two things to say about that. I say it, but if you ask me to do something and I say, or then you say thank you for doing it and I say you're welcome, that means I didn't care to do it. If I say no problem, that means I was annoyed that I had to do it for you. Or if you're emailing or Teams messaging me and they say thank you and I answer back no problem or NP, especially if it's MP, that means it definitely was annoying that I had to do it for you. It's kind of passive.
I say no problem all the time.
No, that's me. I'm saying that if I answer back no problem or especially NP, that means...
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I'm over here and I'm just like, no, yeah, no problem. Of course. I say of course a lot.
Yeah. People who say it must be free to the cashier when an item doesn't have a price tag on it.
Yes. Please stop doing that. It's so annoying.
Basically, any sound coming from a private mobile device in a public space, especially public transit and open plan offices. I agree. Put your phone on silent.
Yeah.
It's if you don't think you're going to hear it, get an Apple Watch or a smartwatch so that you know that you're going to get the notification. There's someone that just moved into a desk not too far from me at work whenever I go on site.
Yeah.
And their phone goes off all the time. And it's like, no.
I only turn my sound on if I am all by myself.
I only turn it on if I'm by myself and I'm expecting a message or something.
Yeah.
So those were some pet peeves. So we'll take a quick break. I think I need to take the little man out because Ryan just left for work. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and then we'll start talking about some deal breakers.
Oakley dokley. Sounds good.
All right, we'll be back.
All right.
Hello, welcome back. All right, so now we're going to transition over to deal breakers. So I looked up, I think we should look at it two different ways. So relationship deal breakers, and then deal breakers in a, when applying for a job, those types of things.
Yeah.
So the first one we'll talk about are some relationship deal breakers. So obviously some of the main ones. So there's physical abuse, verbal or emotional abuse, cheating, substance abuse. So those are the common, not common deal breakers, but massive. Obviously, those are deal breakers.
Yeah, obviously red signs.
Yeah, you don't want to be in that type of relationship. And then some different personal deal breakers. So wanting or not wanting kids can be a deal breaker for some people,
Mhm.
which I could totally understand. If you're someone that definitely wants to have kids and you try to be in a relationship with someone that obviously doesn't want kids, never has wanted kids, you're just going to make that person's, you're both going to make each other's life miserable. Like there's no way to get around that.
Yeah.
Like you're never going to stop wanting to have kids, and you'll more than likely never convince that other person to have kids.
Right.
Liking or disliking their friends, that is a very strange interaction if you don't like their friends.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or if you like their friends so much that you start hanging out without your partner. That's kind of odd too.
I've done that.
And that's why you're in a failed marriage, Sarah.
Yes, that's the reason my marriage failed.
Different saving or spending habit. I mean, I don't know that I would see that as a deal breaker, mainly because, I mean, Ryan and I are in a relationship and we keep our money completely separate.
Yeah, it's like, as long as you're both contributing to the bills that you guys both take care of, like, what does it matter what they do with their money?
Yeah. Different social, political, or religious beliefs. I think to a certain extent, for religious beliefs, you could potentially make it work if they're not trying to force their religious beliefs on you. Like if they feel too strongly, like, and you're not religious at all, then I think there might be kind of a little bit of an issue there.
Yeah.
But if it's just like, yeah, they're Christian and I have no spiritual connection or no religious belief, then kind of like, is that really a big deal?
Yeah.
Being needy or clingy.
I guess that depends on what kind of person you are. Like
Yeah.
if you're the needy, clingy type.
But I think there's also like, if you are in a relationship, you have to have time alone. Like you can't be with each other 100% of the time.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to spend some quality time with just yourself or other people without your significant other.
Yeah. Lack of aspiration. I can kind of see that.
Yeah. I mean, I can kind of see that too.
Like it kind of depends on how if you're the type of person that has to be continually moving and getting something, like having some form of success to be fulfilled, and your partner is just like, no, I'm fine with just sitting around reading a book and barely making it by. That could be a little bit, but lack of trust, I think that's a big thing.
That's a lack of trust is a big red flag.
Yeah, if you can't trust someone in a relationship, then you're obviously not going to work out very long. Stubbornness or unwilling to compromise. Listen, I feel personally attacked with this one. I am a very stubborn person, and I am never wrong.
Yeah.
Only misinformed.
Sure, Capricorn. Sure.
Poor communication.
Yeah,
that's terrible. Unwilling to try new things.
Yeah, that bothers me.
That would be very boring.
Right?
Different diets or preferences. That's not that big of a deal.
First of all, I feel like you shouldn't be making someone else's food choices a deal breaker. Like that's just how they eat.
Yeah, it's strange. Too much time on social media. I think that kind of, I don't know. Let me look and see how long ago this was written. It's 2021, so it's not that old.
But like, I guess I can kind of see it. Like if somebody's always on their phone when they're with you, that can be annoying. But in general, I don't feel like that's a deal breaker. I feel like there are workarounds.
Yeah. I mean, I get it too. Yeah, if they're like never paying attention to you and they're always on their phone, or if you are not a social media influencer and you're dating someone who is like, that's their job, that can get taxing. But obviously you also chose that person.
Yeah, you also knew what that person was doing with their life. So
long distance, I could kind of see both sides of that.
Yeah, you have to have a lot of trust in each other.
Works too much. I don't agree with that.
I do. Okay, let me explain. So, I've had like multiple guys that I've like tried to establish relationships with. who literally put everything behind their job, which, like, I understand we need to make money because we live in a capitalist society, blah, blah, blah. And I understand, that some of these people, they really, really love their job. And so they want to do their best for it and so on and so forth. But when it gets to the point that you are literally bailing on every plan that we try to make because of work, or you are putting literally work entirely over our relationship, then yeah, no, that's a deal breaker.
Yeah, but I think like so to me, and this is from someone that is like very focused on my career, but I also have a relationship. I think getting into a relationship and knowing that they have that, like that's one of their main focuses in their life right now, you kind of need to understand if, unless they're like you make plans with them and they start last minute canceling the plans, then that's not really working. No, that shows lack of respect, basically. Not that they work too much. Like that's a different red flag to me. Different sex drives, I can kind of see that, unless you have an open relationship, and that's another question though. So with that, there's a few preference questions you can ask your potential partner. So how often do you like to have sex? How important is frequency and duration? What time of the day do you feel most intimate? Do you enjoy foreplay or cuddling after? Do you feel comfortable communicating during? So there's just some questions you can ask to gauge whether someone has the same sex drive or is compatible with you sexually.
And if someone says that they do not like foreplay, run away from them.
That might not be, well, what if you don't like foreplay either? So it's kind of like, cool.
Yeah, but
I think it also depends on your definition of foreplay. Like, does that include oral sex or?
Yes.
See, I don't know that I would include oral sex as foreplay. To me, that's not the same. I don't think so. Sarah's nodding her head. You can't see this because this is an audio visual or an audio medium and not visual. But
no, I'm just nodding. Head. Yes, it is. It's the thing is that people, especially when it comes to people who go out with AFABs, is this whole like, oh, foreplay isn't necessary, blah, blah, blah. But it's just like, actually, yeah, it is. I can think of maybe 2 instances where I didn't have to have foreplay first for it to be good.
I still don't think oral is considered foreplay. To me, foreplay is like undressing each other and like making out before and like those types of things. Not like, I think to me it's just part of the sexual act, but that's just me. Moving on. doesn't prioritize you. This kind of goes along with the workaholic one we talked about.
Yeah, not respecting your time kind of thing.
Uncomfortable being yourself.
Oh yeah, if you feel uncomfortable being yourself, do not go out with that person.
Yeah, I mean, or if that person doesn't feel comfortable being themselves around you, then there's something obviously there. They need something they need to work on that before they can actually commit themselves to someone else. Constant fighting or unwillingness to resolve conflict.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're constantly fighting, that's a terrible relationship anyways, unless that's how you enjoy your relationship. But cleanliness, bad breath, poor hygiene, can't see the floor of their home. That's a really hard boundary to get across. If someone is very untidy or doesn't know how to take care of themselves very well, it's kind of hard to get away from that. Compromise is key to avoiding. Okay, this is just the wrap up. So I mean, those were some deal breakers. Let's see if this has any. They want to address issues that you present. It's kind of similar to what we've already talked about. They change their mind about having kids with you. I'm assuming this is going from saying that they would be willing to have kids to it's a no from me, dog.
That's
what I'm assuming. Let me see if it says anything else. Another important topic that should be discussed before deciding to go the long haul with a potential mate is whether or not you see kids in your future. But if one of you has second thoughts or is on the totally different side than you are, according to Bushmen, that should totally be a deal breaker. Another big deal breaker is if someone changing their stance on having kids with you. If they said, if you wish to have kids, or if you wish to have children while your partner already has children, or even if you're both childless and we're initially open to creating a family together, but after some time decide against it. So basically it's going from it's on the table to it's no longer on the table, which, I mean, things change.
Yeah, people change and feelings change, and so something you have to be honest about. I don't know. For me, personal deal breakers, if they don't read, like, ever.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, but I mean, that's because I love books and I love writing, and that's something that's important to me. So I wouldn't want to go out with somebody who has no interest in any of those things at all.
Yeah. So those were some relationship deal breakers. So we'll talk about the top 7 deal breakers when applying or accepting a job. And this is from the American Staffing Association. So we have number 1. Well, let's go from the bottom. So 7 is no face-to-face contact during the hiring process. How long ago was this? 2019.
I feel like that's my new deal breaker. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I would think, well, so face-to-face, is it like person, like actually in person, or Zoom?
Like Zoom, kind of.
So at minimal, like being able to see the physical person, not actually like in person.
Yeah.
Okay, I can kind of understand that. That kind of makes sense. Poor follow-up by recruiting or hiring manager. I agree. That's the worst. Yeah. If you have an application that's been submitted and then they reach out to you and say they're going to schedule an interview, and then they take forever to schedule the interview, and then subsequently take forever to let you know based on that interview whether they're going with you or not.
Right.
The other thing I would say with that is don't feel like you can't reach out to the hiring manager if it's been, like, if your interview is over a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
And also, before the interview ends, ask what's the timing for the next steps for this.
Yeah.
They're probably more than likely going to go into, well, we have a few more candidates, but we should know within like a week or a week and a half, so you know when to expect. So during an interview, always ask so you can gauge when you should be expecting a response. Not responding to questions about open positions. Why do you have an open position if you're not going to answer questions about it? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah, that would be a red flag. Aggressive behavior of recruiter or hiring manager.
Yeah.
That's really weird terminology, aggressive behavior. Because I mean, I think this means like they contact you too much. Like they're contacting you multiple times a day or multiple times a week when going through the hiring process. Misrepresenting job duties. That's like if you started or were interviewed and told the job was one thing, or if it was something in the posting and then you go for an interview and it's something completely different, which someone's familiar with that.
Yup.
Unrealistic job or skill requirements.
Yes.
I think the other thing with this one, and I'm surprised it's not on here, is unrealistic salary based on job requirements.
Yeah.
Like why do I need a master's, but then you're hiring as an entry level? Like,
yeah.
If I have a master's degree, I'm obviously not an entry level person.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be getting paid entry level salary.
Right. Like, or they want a bachelor's degree, or but it's a job that could be done with like a high school diploma, kind of thing.
And then the number 1 is inappropriate interview questions,
which I'm also familiar with.
Which I think for this, it could technically, I mean, what is inappropriate? and when is it inappropriate versus illegal?
Right.
Like, you can't ask someone if they're planning on having children. You technically can't ask someone unless their job has to do with like delivering or something that they have to be using their personal car for. If they have reliable transportation, you technically can't ask that.
Really?
Yeah, unless they have something like their job requires a car for the position, you can't ask if someone has reliable transportation.
I didn't know that. I've been asked that multiple times where my car was not involved.
Sorry, no, let me rephrase that. You can ask if they have reliable transportation, but you can't ask if they have a car themselves. So, like, you can't say, do you have a car?
Right.
Let's see. Let's look at some other workplace deal breakers.
Workplace deal breakers for me is expecting me to take on somebody else's job on top of what I'm already doing, but not giving me a pay increase.
Yeah, which I think that makes sense.
The thing that irritated me the most, in particular when I worked for the BMV, was that I became a trainer because I was really good at my job. But being a trainer did not come with a pay raise. So I was still having to meet my own metrics, plus teach this person how to do the job, and I'm not getting paid more to do that. Plus, if my metrics end up suffering because I'm helping them and training them, then I'm losing out on potential bonuses and whatnot.
I mean, I think for that, I don't understand when someone would expect you to train someone else and then not give you some sort of compensation for it. That's so strange to me.
Yeah.
Then what's the incentive for becoming a trainer if I'm not being compensated for it?
Exactly.
Some other workplace deal breakers: the boss doesn't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how can you work with someone without having trust?
Right.
Work expectations when off the clock. I mean, I think this goes like my job, I'm salaried, so it's technically I'm basically never off the clock, kind of, because I can be working or they could reach out to me 24/7. And if I work more than 40 hours, I don't get paid for the extra hours that I do work. I just have to put in a minimum of 40 hours, which is kind of the pros and cons of being salaried position.
Yeah, I think salaried positions shouldn't exist personally because of that reason of like if you're having to do extra work, you should be getting extra pay for that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand. I like the idea of the salaried position, except for the fact where it comes to if I work overtime, I don't get compensated for overtime. Like, that's having a set salary and knowing that's what my salary is going to be at minimum makes sense. But then there's also like, I think the way that they compensate it is like you don't have to, like, you're more flexible with your time off. So if you like need to take Friday off or something, you can spread it across the week. So as long as you get your 40 hours in, you don't have to use a vacation day just because you need to take Friday off to go to the doctor or do something. So that's nice that there's that flexibility. But yeah, when you do have to work overtime and then you don't get paid for it any extra, it's kind of a pain.
Right.
Difficult coworkers. I've had experience with that.
Yeah.
The boss blames you for a mistake. I mean, if they're your mistakes, then I think that makes somewhat sense, but it's more how is the interaction? Like, how are they blaming you or reprimanding you?
Mm-hmm.
And then work isn't flexible.
Yeah.
What that means.
No, I do. Like, if something has come up and you're needing to take time and they're just not willing to give it to you, like, or they don't seem to understand that you have a life outside of work. One of the things that was like a huge red flag for me was when when I was working at the airport, and like the kids that I was working with were in school, but the management was constantly scheduling them when they were going to be in class, even though they had already submitted, I'm going to be in class, that I am a student on top of being a worker. And so the job would just refuse to be flexible about that.
I think it depends. Like, if it's a constant thing where you're always having issues, I think it makes sense for a job to say, well, we can't we've already given you these exceptions. Like, if it, at what point is it not an exception but a rule type of thing? That seems mean, but like from a business standpoint, they have a business to run. If they have a person that there's a there's a um, there's a habit that they keep building up where it's every 2 weeks or every week and a half they have to take a day off because something comes up. It's like they're not a reliable employee at that point.
But I think the issue is that most of these companies are billion-dollar companies, and it's not going to negatively impact them if they have like to make room for one person, or like even 3 or 4. Like, you know, a lot of these companies out here that have zero flexibility, they're making a ton of money already. Like, they're ruining the earth already. Like, they can afford to, you know, have a couple of people who have issues more often than others. For those of you who can't see, he's making a face.
I am making a face because I don't agree. I agree to a certain extent. Like, and this is where I think maybe I'm a little more, I don't want to say conservative, but because to me it's a nasty word. I'm a little more restrained, that like if you would, it's like your job to make it work. Like, if you know you're scheduled, if you know you have time that you're scheduled to do something comes up, like your car breaks down or your kid gets sick, so you take them to the doctor or something like that. Yeah, I understand that. But if that becomes a habit and keeps happening, it's going to make it look like you're playing favorites with that person, and other employees are going to look at it like, why are they receiving this special treatment when I don't get it? Or they're going to expect that same special treatment, which is fair, but then it's like the business has to run. If we give everyone that special treatment, then there's going to be no one that works.
So then maybe they should be a little bit more flexible overall so that the business can continue to run properly. Because I think the thing is that companies are too restrictive and are not acknowledging that people have real life outside of work kind of situation. That's what I'm saying. What are you doing?
I was reading another article and this like massive ad popped up and took up the whole screen.
Y'all can't see it, but like he keeps going into the dark and then like lighting back up again because he's looking at these other things on his computer.
So I'm just looking at different articles and it looks like all of them are the same. No trust, expected to work during off work hours, pass the buck, the management blames you, no flexibility, home or responsibilities for family, home or responsibilities, and you don't get along. Yeah, so like those are all, everybody keeps saying the same thing.
Yeah,
which it makes sense, but this is from 2014. Geez. So I think like whenever I think of deal breakers when it comes to work, and I'm thinking only of work right now, I think my biggest one is a lack of diversity. Like, if there's no diversity in a job, you're not looking at other people's backgrounds and traits that they could be bringing to the team to help add another layer of complexity or another layer of experience that they might have something new to bring to the team. And then, I mean, I think it's in 2022, if you don't have, like, if there's a job, to a certain extent, if there's a job that you don't have the ability to work from home, then I think it's like there's an issue with what I do, especially.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I feel similarly, but also definitely agree with the not getting compensated enough for the position that you're doing.
Yeah. So we have about 9 minutes left, and then I have to get ready to go anyways. So
I need to eat something.
Let's do another trivia thing.
Okay.
I think this is a good way to wrap it up every week.
By quizzing me?
Yeah. I mean, you could look up stuff too, Sarah. I'm not the only one with a computer here. What's the longest river?
The Nile?
The Nile, yeah. What is the diameter of the Earth?
Oh, fuck. I have no idea.
I wouldn't know this either. It's 8,000 miles. Which actress has won the most Oscars?
Meryl Streep.
No, this is as of July 14th, 2022. I don't know if this is true. It says Katharine Hepburn, 4
Oh,
Oscars and 12 nominations. What actor starred in 142 films, including The Quiet Man, The Shootist, The Searchers, and Stagecoach?
John Wayne.
Yeah, which he's kind of a douche.
Yep.
What noir actress starred in I Married a Witch, The Glass Key, So Proudly We Hail, and Sullivan's Travels?
I have no idea.
Veronica Lake.
Okay.
A little bit before our time, Sarah.
Yeah, but I watch a lot of those old movies.
What is the title of the first film ever made, and when was it made? This one's hard.
I feel like I know this one though. It was a sneeze, I think. I know it was like 8. Jesus Christ. We get Amber Alerts all the time here in Texas.
That's fun. So anyway, it's not the Sneeze, whatever that is. It's Roundhay Garden Scene, made in 1888. I don't know what that is.
1888. That was 100 years before I was born.
Which actress said, "Fasten your seatbelts, it's going to be a bumpy night," in the film All About Eve?
Betty Davis.
Yes, Betty Davis. Amazing Betty Davis.
Yes.
Who directed the Lord of the Rings trilogy?
Peter Jackson.
Yep. Who played Neo in The Matrix? This one's easy.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. Which actress's career launched at the age of 3 and then went on to star in films such as Contact, Maverick, and The Silence of the Lambs?
Jodie Foster.
Contact. Yeah, Jodie Foster. Bray Studios near Windsor in Berkshire was the home of which famous brand of horror films? I don't know this one.
I have no idea.
Hammer Horror?
Hammer Horror.
I never heard of that. In which film did Humphrey Bogart say, "We'll always have Paris"?
Casablanca.
Let's not talk about sports. Ooh, the arts. Okay. What are the primary colors? The 3 primary colors.
Red, blue, and yellow.
Yep. In needlework, what does UFO stand for?
I have no idea.
Unfinished object.
Mm.
Who was the first ballet Russian dancer who changed the face of modern ballet? And I'm not going to be able to say this last name.
I have not a clue.
Rudolf Nureyev? Not really sure. What's the painting La Gioconda, maybe? More usually known as Lagioconda. It's a very famous painting.
Who painted it?
If I tell you that, it'll give it away. It's the Mona Lisa.
Okay.
What does the musical term piano mean?
Soft.
To be played softly, yeah. We have just a couple more and then we'll call it a day. How many valves does a trumpet have?
4?
3. Close. 3. Who was the Spanish artist, sculptor, and draftsman famous for co-founding the Cubist movement?
Picasso.
Pablo Picasso. And then what is
Picasso.
what is John Leach famous for making?
John Leach?
Yeah, Leach, Leach.
I have not a clue.
Pottery. All right. So
I need to brush up on the arts.
Yeah, I mean, next recording, you could, I don't know, maybe do something than just sit there and answer questions there.
No, my job here is to sit and look pretty.
All right, I think that's all the time we have for today. So until next time, thanks for listening. Remember, always interact with us on our social media. So we have Instagram. It's at now about that pod on Instagram. You can always email us anything you would like us to talk about, discuss, any topics to nowaboutthatpod@gmail.com. Until then, please listen, comment, subscribe, like, whatever you need to do, share, whatever you need to do to listen to our podcast and get others to listen to our podcast if you would like to. So until then, have a good week, everybody, because this will come out on Monday.
Hasta la vista, babies.
Bye.
Bye.